Well, everybody, it is a new legislative session in Olympia, and I am excited to again restart my conversations with our 35th District Representatives. In the House, it's Dan Griffey and Travis Couture, State Senator Drew McEwen. All of them have agreed to come back on KMAS this short session to talk about things. And first up, it's Representative Griffey. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm well, Jeff. It is so nice to see you. Blast from the past and everything, man.
Man,
KMAS back on the air, baby.
yeah, isn't it something? We didn't have a chance to talk last year as I was off the air last year, but we're back now in the session. And although I didn't get a chance to talk with you as often as I'd liked, I did follow along with what you and your counterparts, Representative Couture and Senator McEwen, had been working on, and you guys brought home some great things to the 35th to help out our communities. So kudos to that, and
Thank
way to
you.
go on all of those things.
Thank you.
You
It
guys,
is my pleasure. Like I told you, since I met you and I decided to run for this office, I live and breathe the needs of this community. I love everybody and I want to help. That's what I am here.
well, let's dig into this new session. It kicked off Monday. The governor has offered his state of the state as well, and we'll talk about that if you want later in next time we meet. But I want to
Yeah.
know what your priorities are. I've been reading some of the correspondence that have been coming out, and it seems, at least with the overall House Republicans, public safety is primary this year.
Yeah, it's disappointing that the majority still is, I believe, ignoring it. They come up with different excuses why we shouldn't focus heavily on public safety. But yes, it is definitely something we got to really tackle. If you look at the murder rate in Washington State, it is going up at a very alarming rate. The overdose death rate from fentanyl is, it doubles every year. I mean, these are some big things, but it's worse than that. It is the cost of housing, the availability of housing. It just the myriad of other things, property crimes causing the cost of goods and services to increase so much. So really, I always look at my position here as to educate. So I take a few of the majority party members, I take them, I show them, I physically show them what's going on. It has a lot of success, but it is the slower success. It is frustrating, and I know it's frustrating for my constituents, but I need enough people to side with us on some of these changes to get things done.
One of the
Um,
things that I had read is that Washington is either at the bottom or near the bottom when it comes to the amount of officers per capita. Is that
we are.
something? Talk to me
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, we're absolutely at the bottom. Sorry, I just turned all gray because
No, I
my
see
lights just
you.
went off in
The
my
lights just
office.
went off in the office. You got to move your arm around or something
Yeah,
like
well, it
that.
didn't go off. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, so per capita, we're 51st out of all states and the District of Columbia per capita. And we've also kind of changed kind of like the would-be criminal now has less of a fear that they're actually going to be pursued, have less of a fear that they're actually going to get real jail time, and maybe not even get bail, right, established for the
Hmm.
crime that they committed. And we saw that tragically last year. And what I want to do is continue to educate so we don't have to go through those tragedies any longer. We can do a heck of a lot better than we're currently doing.
And when it comes to the retail, I don't know if it's the Retail Trade Association, but the retailers in the state,
Yeah.
have they reached out to you in the House, or personally, or through your counterparts that says we're ready to come to the table and help? I go to Target and Walmart, and every aisle seems to have locked
Yeah.
windows. You can't even get toothpaste or something like that. I would imagine if the theft is so great in these businesses, that if they can help support increased law enforcement presence, that would bring down those retail theft issues.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fundamental flaw in thinking, as far as I'm concerned, that the majority of the majority party also disagree that that we need law enforcement. Like law enforcement is a bad thing. In a civil society, for us to stay civil and to stay but thriving and prosperous, you have to have a reasonable belief that your family's going to stay safe. I mean, I heard your wonderful boy on the air, right? I mean, when I hear that and I hear those young voices, it really motivates me more to say we can do a heck of a lot better. We can expect more. We can expect more from our kids, but we can certainly expect more from the would-be criminals right now, from the rest of society. And so, I find it kind of miserable that we in Washington State are kind of now accepting that more things are going to be behind locked cabinets. That's really going to be the reality unless we change the narrative, right? We no longer stand to lose $4 billion a year. That's what we're kind of up to right now. $4 billion a year just walks off the shelves. I hear an argument from the majority party that, oh, it's just poor people stealing food. I've argued, and I think I've even told you this before, Jeff, if people are stealing $4 billion worth of food, we wouldn't have any hungry people in Washington State. This is not a Robin Hood syndrome, right? What this is some pretty terrible people trafficking people, those most in need. So they send somebody who might be sex trafficked or might be, substance addicted disorder. They send them in there to do it for them. So they even insulate themselves from any kind of jeopardy. And so, I try to tell people if we intervene early and we have proper resources, we could and probably would save a trafficked human. If we intervene early and often, then we will make sure that we can actually shop in stores again, Jeff, where we don't have to go find somebody. Well, that's the other thing, because workforce participation is down so low. Actually finding somebody in the store to open that cabinet for you, Jeff, is that kind of frustrating?
It's tough.
I mean, I don't want to talk all negative, Jeff, but we have got to get people to hear. I can move. I'm malleable on things. I can go the majority party way on some things, but let's have the conversation. What we're doing now isn't working.
The other thing I had just thought of while we're talking about this is that when you go into, you hear about the thefts, or you walk in and you see the barriers to even just grab it and look at the ingredients or something, that to me has a trickle effect too, that people are just going to stay home, shop online, and then that's going to screw over these small business owners that really have, it's a day-to-day struggle to survive, and that could be another impact of this.
Well, unfortunately, I think we're still feeling the effects of the pandemic. I mean, think about your life. Do you feel a little more comfortable being at home a lot more than you did before? Like sticking around, hunkering down? I'm not gonna lie, I do too, right? And so I push myself really hard to get out and about, and I'm shedding that. Like I tell my wife, let's go for the walk that we would have normally done 2 years ago instead of putting the TV on for Netflix with the latest and greatest, right? We as a society we're broken with this pandemic thing. I'm not gonna lie, I think our government response was overburdensome, but we haven't fixed it yet. And so, yes, I think what's happening is retailers are going to go out of business because they're going to, you're going to just see a domino effect. We'll have more and more of them go out of business. They're not going to be on the corner to help us out any longer. And the Amazons of the world will take over and everything will be delivered to our house. I find that not the society I would like us to proceed.
It seems to be more and more going down the Wall-E version of how the Pixar movie kind of depicted the future here.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie. If you look at what was that movie done years and years ago with the person that wasn't very smart but was frozen in time.
Idiocracy.
Yeah, Idiocracy. I'm thinking, my goodness, Jeff, could we get there? Like,
yeah.
And I don't want to, right? There's no reason we can't. We can challenge our kiddos in K-12 education longer. We can expect a heck of a lot more from them, and we can give them a more enriching learning environment. We can do these things, but we now spend over half of our operating budget annually on K-12 education, and in mathematics, 70% of our kiddos. 70% are not at grade level.
Wow.
In reading, almost 50% of our kiddos are not at grade level. And and just taking these things and just sweeping it under the rug, that doesn't work. Let's talk about it. And yes, there might be 2 different ways, or 3 or 4 or 1,000 different ways to fix it, but expecting a lot. I've said it before on the show. 18 and 19-year-olds invaded Fortress Europe. It wasn't very long ago where we expected a heck of a lot from our youngsters, and they built a country. We can get back there. It just, anyway, I'm going to keep educating. I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep pushing.
One other thing that kind of is part of all of this conversation, and you've heard the phrase, possession is 9/10 of the law. So if you're if you're the holder of a property or you're the holder of something, oftentimes the law will go and side with you. But it seems now more and more too, and we've seen it in Shelton, we've seen it throughout Mason County. People's properties are at times being overrun by squatters and people that will come onto a property and they'll stay there and then they'll say, "What are you going to do
Mine,
about it? This is mine."
mine.
What's going on this year with that?
Well, I have a bill that would end adverse possession, at least to deeded property. So you, Jeff, right now, your property that you have a deed and you have a boundary that is your property
Yeah.
that you have the right to pay taxes on, right? And you do pay taxes there.
Yes.
Somebody parks on your boundary and occupies it for 7 years, has a right to petition to say that's actually their property. No, it's not. It's just like retail theft in Washington State. It's not yours, so you can't have it. It is a loophole that people are using, unscrupulous people are using to clog up the court system. A lot of times the property owners win, but not often. And in the current situation, the petitioner or the person who squatted on that property that is not theirs, that they didn't pay taxes on, has the right to ask for attorney fees, court costs from the person they stole the property from. I find that to be horrible. I find it to be one of many thousand drivers of the high cost of housing in Washington State. So I want to tackle it. We had a very tragic and not tragic, but a terrible situation up on North Shore, up in Belfair area, of this happening, right? And this homeowner is just almost on her knees begging me for help. So we got Sheriff Salisbury in the room. We got Commissioner Randy Netherland. We talked it out, worked it out. Who's going to take the state? I took the state stuff, obviously. Sheriff is working on what he can do about making sure that people are served. And the county commissioner is talking about how can we be more, aggressive in our code enforcement, and can we work with law enforcement to make sure that that your property is secure and that people can't steal it from you. So I have a bill to do something about that. Anyway.
That's
That was
awesome.
awkward pause.
No.
You had such a perfect lead into that, and I'm like,
Well,
blah.
yeah, no, I think, you explained it well, and it's a tough situation for those who drive by. They'll drive by a house in the neighborhood or something, and they'll see a situation unfolding, and even the neighbors in the properties, they feel helpless. They feel like they can't
Yeah.
do anything, and oftentimes too, I would imagine that these properties that people will come and land on, the actual property owner may not even be in the region or the state to
Yep.
help to
Yeah.
adjudicate that.
Well, exactly. And see, that's the other thing, that somebody living remotely from the property that they own, but it's theirs, right? They're
Right.
paying the taxes.
Yeah.
They own it. It is deeded. There are boundary markers. It's been surveyed. You don't get to do that any longer under this bill. And I think it is a step in the right direction.
Well, I can obviously see that your passion for the 35th has not diminished in the time that we have unable to talk to each other, but I'm really happy to continue these through the short session here that's going on. Dan's online at dangriffey.houserepublicans.wa.gov, and we're going to be checking in with him weekly during the session, in addition to Representative Couture and Senator McEwen. So it was a great way to start things off here in the session, and I'm excited to hear more and more about how you're trying to talk with the majority party and work on these issues that do impact all of the state, but again, focused on the 35th. So Representative Griffey, thank you so much. It's good to see you, and it's always great to talk with you.
Oh, it's nice to see you, Jeff. Blast from the past. Thank you, man.
You got it. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.